Hey, my people, you've clicked the right video because today, Malawi is boiling like Nsima left too long on the fire. I'm talking about the drama that has every WhatsApp group buzzing and every uncle at the barber shop suddenly turning into a political analyst. Yes, Banda has spoken, and the Democratic Progressive Party DPP is sweating harder than a driver stuck in Lilongwe traffic with no fuel. Now, this isn't just another he said, she said. Nope, this is a full-blown headline. The kind that makes both the government and opposition start looking for where the cameras are pointed. Banda is calling out what he calls government intimidation. And the DPP, they are shouting, "That's not us, boss." So, grab your tea, my guy, or whatever keeps you awake, because we are unpacking 5 hot facts that explain why Banda's outburst has shaken the table and maybe even cracked a few political plates along the way. Fact number 1, let's talk about what exactly made Banda stand up and say enough is enough. So, picture this. Banda, the bold broadcaster we all know, steps up one fine morning and starts dropping verbal bombs. He says, "Look here, some people in DPP and even in government are playing games behind the scenes." Now, if you know Brian, you know the man doesn't whisper. He speaks like he's trying to wake up the whole neighborhood. And this time, the neighborhood is the political elite. He accuses the DPP of meddling with his work, hinting that there are forces trying to silence or intimidate independent voices. And boom, social media explodes. WhatsApp, Facebook, X, all flooded with people saying, "Hey, koma Brian wavuta." Some Malawians job. Brian must have eaten chili for breakfast. That voice was burning. But behind the laughter is real tension. Because what Brian is saying, it hits a nerve. We've seen journalists harassed, broadcasters sidelined, and anyone who speaks too loudly suddenly transferred or investigated. So when he shouted, people listened. Here's the kicker. Brian isn't just any random presenter. He's been around power. He's interviewed presidents. He knows the corridors of Capitol Hill like you know the way to your favorite chip stand. So when he says there's pressure coming from inside, that carries weight. Of course, the DPP wasted no time saying, "Tiza panga zanuzo, that's not us." They tried to shift the focus, calling it misinterpretation. But you know, Malawians, we love connecting dots. And by lunchtime, everyone had drawn their own picture. Smacks at the camera. This was the spark. One voice lighting up a political fuse. And if you think that's small, wait till you see how fast the fire spreads. Because, my friend, that brings us straight to fact number 2. The DPP's political panic mode. Basi. The DPP headquarters must have felt like a kitchen after someone forgot to switch off the stove. Because once Banda's accusations hit the air, everyone was pointing fingers and ducking microphones. Muk serious. One insider allegedly said, "We don't even have time for this. We are preparing for the convention." But you could almost hear the panic in that voice. The DPP suddenly had to act like that student who didn't do homework. "Sir, I can explain." Lindsay. They quickly began damage control, press briefings, interviews, and a few friendly faces online defending the party. But here's the funny part. The more they denied, the louder Banda's message echoed. Like a drum in the valley, you deny once, the echo hits you twice. Now, why was the party so jumpy? Well, look, 2025 is not far, and everyone's eyes are already on the next election. The DPP can't afford to look like a party that bullies the media. That's political suicide. So they had to show composure, unity, and a clean image. Point at the camera. But if you followed Malawian politics long enough, you know, unity in DPP sometimes lasts shorter than your bundle expiry date. Inside, the cracks started to show. Some members whispered, "This Banda issue, we should have ignored it." Others said, "No, we must respond strongly." Shrugs. That inner confusion, that's the sound of a party trying to balance between damage control and damage denial. Meanwhile, Malawians online were cooking memes. Someone even posted a photo of Brian holding a mic next to a fire extinguisher with the caption, "DPP trying to cool him down." We love humor, but the truth is, Banda had forced a national conversation.
And when people start talking about intimidation, transparency, and government control, you know the conversation isn't just gossip anymore. Paces. That's when political analysts jumped in, saying, this might expose how parties still treat media like campaign tools. One commentator even joked, maybe it's time to give microphones the right to vote because they clearly influence more people than MPs. Leans closer. The takeaway here is DPP's reaction said it all. Banda's words touched a raw nerve, one they thought was healed long ago. Beat? But hold up, because if you thought that's the climax, that was just the popcorn moment. Now, this is where things get interesting. You see, when Banda started talking, the DPP wasn't the only one catching heat. The government, which is supposed to represent all of us, suddenly looked like that friend who gets caught in a group photo with someone controversial and says, no, I was just passing by. State officials didn't know whether to defend free speech or pretend they didn't hear Banda at all. Some ministries act quietly. You could almost hear the silence louder than a generator at night. Bit. A few spokespeople mumbled the classic line, "We don't interfere with independent broadcasters." Sure, that sounds neat on paper, but the streets were saying otherwise. People were like, if you are so innocent, why so many closed-door meetings after the broadcast? Leans in. The truth is, this issue exposed how fragile our democracy feels when journalists speak up. Banda's claims reminded everyone that freedom of expression in Malawi sometimes feels like a candle in the wind, shining bright, but one strong gust and poof. Raise hand. The public reaction was a mix. Some cheering Banda for his courage, others warning him, my brother, careful, you know how power plays out here. And that's real talk. In our political environment, truth-telling sometimes comes with side effects. Suspension, investigation, or being branded disloyal. Bit. Meanwhile, ministers and party spokespeople try to redirect attention to more important issues. Classic move. Like when a child breaks the remote and suddenly starts talking about how hungry they are. Chuckles, paces lightly. But the truth was the people weren't buying it. Social media influencers began quoting Banda's lines, remixing his speeches, turning them into short TikTok skits. Even some civil society leaders weighed in, saying, if Banda is wrong, prove it. If he's right, fix it. That's when we realize this story isn't just about Brian Banda anymore. It's about what kind of country we want to be. Do we want journalists who ask hard questions or just praise singers in fancy suits? Bit. Because the government's slow, hesitant reaction, it said plenty. It showed fear of the narrative getting out of control. And in politics, perception is everything. So now the stage is set. Banda fired the first shots, the DPP scrambled, and the government is pretending to mind its own business. But the audience, that's us, we are watching every move like a football match in added time. And guess what? The next two facts will show just how deep this goes, from power games to press freedom itself. Stay tuned, because in part 2, we dive into how this saga shakes the foundation of Malawian democracy and why Brian Banda might have just become the loudest symbol of modern resistance, with or without a mic. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
My people, you know this part hurts me deep, because now we are talking about the real fight, freedom ya media yetu. Brian Banda's firestorm is not just about one man versus the system. It's about how free the mic really is in Malawi. Let's be honest. Media freedom here sometimes feels like a goat tied to a tree. Yes, it can move around a bit, but only until that rope pulls tight. And Banda's case just showed how short that rope can get. See, when a broadcaster gets criticized for talking too much, that's not a critique, that's a warning shot. And that's what people felt when this story broke. They started asking, who controls our media? Who decides what is too critical? Some journalists privately said they felt nervous because if Banda can be targeted, anyone can. One producer even told a colleague, "Bro, I'm going to start reporting about cats. They don't sue you." But look, that's not how a democracy works. The press is supposed to be the voice of the people, not a parrot of power. Yet every time a journalist gets cornered, it sends a chilling message: stay quiet or join the choir. That's why people are saying this brand Banda moment, it's a wake-up call. Media bodies are demanding accountability. They are telling government and DPP alike, respect the mic, don't fear it. And if you notice, this has sparked something new online. Young content creators speaking bolder than ever. It's like the Banda effect. One guy stands up and a whole generation of voices start testing their volume. Because the truth is, freedom of the press is like air. You only notice it when it's gone. And right now, Malawians are fighting to breathe a little freer. But hold on, don't relax yet, because behind this fight for media freedom lies something bigger, darker, and definitely more strategic. Time for fact number 5, the bigger political game at play. Now, this is where the movie gets interesting, because what if I told you Brian Banda's story is not just about a mic and a party, but about 2025 power realignments? Yes, we are talking strategic chess, not checkers. Here's the theory many analysts are whispering. The whole uproar around Banda is also a test balloon, a way for different political factions to see how far they can go in controlling the narrative before the next election. One camp in the DPP wants to project strength, another camp says, boss, we need public sympathy. Meanwhile, government officials are trying to act like referees while quietly counting votes in the background. You see, in Malawian politics, silence is never neutral. If you're quiet, someone will still quote you. So every move, every press statement is a signal to some faction somewhere. That's why this story became so explosive, because it isn't just about media freedom, it's about which side owns the storyline of the country. And this is where the public comes in, because for once, people are seeing through the PR smiles. They're realizing that political noise is often just a cover for real issues like poverty, unemployment, and corruption. Brian Banda's microphone did something powerful. It shifted the spotlight back onto those issues. Suddenly, everyone's talking about leadership quality, integrity, and whether we're actually moving forward or just spinning like a minibus around Blantyre roundabout. So here's the big reveal. The real game isn't Banda versus DPP, it's truth versus control. It's the battle for who tells Malawi's story. And guess what? The people are watching more closely than ever. This is a moment of reckoning, because in the next election season, every politician will want the microphone, but Banda's saga reminds them that the mic has its own memory. It records truths you can't erase. And that, my friends, is the real plot twist. Now, let's wrap it up Malawi style. Straight, honest, and from the heart. This story has been a ride. Politics, media, drama, truth, all mixed like sima and beans on a Monday. But the moral of the day is simple. Freedom of speech isn't a luxury, it's our heartbeat. Brian Banda may have sparked a storm, but he also sparked a conversation that we can't afford to ignore. If we want a Malawi where leaders listen instead of threatening, then we have to protect voices like his, even when we don't agree with every word. So, my fellow Malawians, if you love truth with flavor, click that like button, subscribe to @GlobalPulseNews, and turn on the bell so you never miss the next fire update. And don't forget our sister channels for the little ones and family fun, @Sparkling Kids and @Raima Fatima. Let's grow together, let's learn together, and let's be the voice that builds this nation, not breaks it. Show some love by liking, subscribing, and dropping your thoughts in the comments. Because here at Global Pulse News, we don't just report the pulse of the nation, we make it beat louder.